Welcome back to Autism at Home, brought to you by us at Early Autism Project Malaysia through our non-profit initiative, The Hope Project. My name is Jochebed Isaacs, and welcome to our 5th lesson on coping with the pandemic or endemic series. In the previous lessons of this series, we talked about how to communicate with our children about COVID-19, how to cope with lockdowns and home quarantines, how to teach children how to wear face masks, face shields, as well as how to use hand sanitizers. In today's lesson, we will be talking about preparing for swab tests and for vaccinations. As parents, we will do anything and everything to keep our children safe and healthy. However, being children, they're definitely prone to getting some sort of infection from all sorts of virus and bacteria living around us. Through the different movement control orders imposed here in Malaysia, our children have had to attend online school lessons, go back to school, then back to online lessons, and sometimes throughout these transitions, or even through any contact elsewhere, they may still, unfortunately, catch a bug. We are living in a world where familiar symptoms such as fever, cough, sore throat, and those sniffles have now taken a completely different meaning, particularly since the day we were all introduced to COVID-19. Also, as parents, when our children do exhibit some of these common symptoms, we want some reassurance of what it is that they have caught and what it's not. So to get the answer to this is usually through a swab test. Though the experience of doing a swab test is never quite pleasant, it may just be unavoidable. So when do we take our children for a swab test? According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, if your child has had a close contact with someone who doesn't display any symptoms of an infection, but is still tested positive with COVID-19, it's best to wait at least 4 days after the exposure before getting tested. By definition, a close contact means your child has spent a total of at least 15 minutes over a 24-hour period and has been less than 6 feet from a person with confirmed or probable case of COVID-19. So let's cut to the chase and get started. First, always check our 3 key strategies. Skills should be broken down to small steps, reinforcement should also be provided, and lots of practice to build fluency. Let's also look at the prerequisites for starting this program. As usual, the core foundational skills such as cooperation, the ability to follow first-then instructions, as well as some skills of attention and imitation. Let's also look at the materials you will need: a social story, a video model on what's expected, a first-then board, and a rule card. Here are also some additional tips on how you can help your child build some readiness for a swab test. First is to share child-friendly information. As parents, when we are worried about an upcoming unpleasant experience, we tend to save some of the information from our children, thinking that the less they know about it, the better, or we don't want to make them feel more scared about it. But the opposite definitely carries more benefits than its counterpart. Without these details, children may then have some vivid imaginations that may fill in the missing details. Some of these imaginations may be much worse than the actual experience. So do remember to share age-appropriate information about any of these experiences, especially medical procedures, with your children as early as necessary to help reduce their fears. About the tests, parents could describe in detail what children can expect, almost like telling a story. These details could include the where, the who, the what, the when, how long, and how it feels roughly. Also, using clear images will definitely help illustrate the situation even better. Strategy number 2 is to help children plan their coping strategies. You can explain to your child that their main task is to sit still while you hold them or their hands. To give your child some comfort, you can allow them to bring their favorite toy for them to hold while they wait for their turn or while they go through the test. Consider allowing your child to listen to a song while they wait, when they do the test and after, especially if they love songs. In some cases, we've actually waited in the car until it's our turn and then only brought our child in for the test. It is also beneficial to prepare a very special reward for them for completing the test. Maybe some chocolates or a brand new toy. This can be offered to them regardless of their reactions while taking the test. You can also help them cope with the test by prompting them to look up and hold their breath. You can help do the countdown from 15 or sing a song while they endure the test. These would help distract them from the discomfort they might feel. Third, affirmation. More specifically, tell your child what they did that went really well. This will help build a positive association to doing the test. Even if they screamed or cried during the test, which is completely understandable, they still completed it. So giving them affirmations such as, I like how you tried your best to hold your breath, or singing your favorite song was definitely a good idea to help you cope with the discomfort. Good thinking. Now, why is it important for them to build a positive association to the swab test? Because unfortunately, until coronavirus is completely gone, we'll need to be prepared to take this test more than once in our life. So keep those positive affirmations coming and positive associations to help your child cope with the test in the future. Another idea is to perhaps record a video of your child going through the test and maybe do an interview with them after, asking them how they felt and how they thought it went. Your child can watch the recording later and maybe even feel better about taking a swab test in the future. Now let's get started. First, have the materials ready and then read the social story. Show the video model of the current step to your child, then say, do swab, then reward your child for a job well done. For the purpose of building readiness for a swab test, we don't encourage parents to do the actual test by inserting the Q-tip all the way into the nostril. Unless you are a medical professional, it is important to ensure your child's overall safety while doing these practices. The breakdown is merely to get your child ready for a swab test and get acquainted with the routine of sitting down without moving, having their head held by an adult, holding their favorite toy, etc. As we're not medically trained, we are not able to instruct anyone to do the actual swab test or to even give any recommendations on the actual test. Our goal is just to guide you in preparing your child for the experience. Here's how we would break down this program. This standard routine would be applicable to the preparation for both swab tests as well as vaccinations. First, sit quietly, either on a chair or an adult's lap, depending on the child's comfort. The more comfortable they are, the better they'll be able to sit nicely. Prompt your child to lean back, look up, and close their eyes. If your child is sitting on your lap, you can even hold their head so they don't move so much. Encourage your child to hold a favorite toy or item, or even to hold your hand for comfort. Then prompt them to start counting down from 15, or perhaps sing the ABC song or any song that they are familiar with. Then as for the practice for the swab, the breakdown can look like this. Seeing that this is a tolerance-based program, it's all right to do it very gradually if your child needs more time to learn. Frequency of practice can, however, be increased. So Q-tip in front of their nose without going in yet, Q-tip touching the tip of their nose, Q-tip touching nostril and in 1 centimeters. And it is up to you as the parent if you want to push the Q-tip in further than that. Now let's see the full practice.
Alright, ready? First, do swab, then reward. Okay, do swab in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. You did really well. Okay, there you go. You can have slinky. Yeah, pull slinky. Cool.
Because this may be quite a daunting experience for some children and even adults, do ensure that the skill is broken down to very small steps. It is better for your child to take the time to really learn the expectations than to rush the teaching and your child eventually not mastering it. Reinforcement is crucial. For each step, do give them the designated reward and it should get bigger and better. as they progress through this skill. If they do go through the actual swab test or vaccination, even if they cry or scream, they should still have access to a great reward for still completing the test. Practice is important. Although this may not be a fun skill to practice, if your child does need to go through a real swab test, you will thank yourself for working hard practicing this skill with your child. And that's it. That's how we prepare our children to get ready for swab tests. The same prerequisites would be applied in building your child's preparation to getting their vaccinations. So these are cooperation, ability to follow first-then instructions, as well as the skills of attention and imitation. The same 3-step points should also be included when communicating to them about vaccinations. Share child-friendly information with appropriate details. Plan the appropriate coping strategies for them and give the feedback on what they did that went well. You can also use the same materials: a social story, a video model, a first-then board, and a rule card. And you will also need a timer. Begin the practice again with the standard routine. Have them sit quietly, lean back, close their eyes, hold a toy or your hand and do the counting down or sing a song. Then the breakdown for the actual shot. It can look like this. Start with just having your child holding the injection and playing it around, without the needle, of course. It can be a pretend syringe. You can then have it held in the air for about 10 to 15 seconds with the child's hand placed and staying still. Then have the syringe held on the child's arm, on the jab spot for about 5 seconds. Then when success is observed consistently, increase the duration to perhaps 10 seconds, then gradually to 15 seconds and longer. Let's see the full practice.
Alright, first take jab, then reward. Okay? You can sit nicely and hold a toy, and we're gonna count down. Okay? Alright, let's take jab. Okay. Good. Alright. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You did really well. Well done. There we go. You can choose.
On the actual vaccination day, despite the number of practices done as well as the successes your child has achieved, you may still need to hold your child's hand or shoulder if they show some discomfort before taking their turn to get vaccinated. But that's okay. No one really enjoys taking an injection. Still reward your child despite their reaction to the injection as long as they have completed it. You want them to have a positive association to getting their vaccinations because, well, in general, there are 2 COVID-19 vaccinations for them to take for sure. So do all that you can so that your child is best prepared for their turn and have as good a successful experience as they can throughout their experience. This is so that they won't dread or be traumatized going for the next shot. Well, not that much, hopefully. If your child tends to get nervous in new settings, it's also advisable to have multiple rewards on standby for following the flow and a major reward for completing the vaccination. Multiple rewards for following the flow can include candies or mini sweets. While waiting in line, your child can be rewarded with screen time, be it an iPad or an iPhone. We would also advise parents to actually call the doctor or the clinic ahead of time to let them know about your child so that they could actually have a special room ready or a lesser waiting time so that it's more successful for your child for either the swab test or the vaccination. Here is an example of a resource prepared by JKJAV, or the National COVID-19 Immunization Program for individuals with autism. Alternatively, you can also download our vaccination social story and visual schedule template from our website and individualize it to your child's needs. And that's it. That's how we prepare our children to get ready for their vaccination. These are just general guidelines that can be applied to all children. Specific individualization will be required to meet the different needs of each child.
Pop quiz. When Bob started teaching his son Bill and preparing him for an upcoming swab test, he noticed that Bill would try to walk away from the table before the practice started even after the social story and video model had been shown. What can Bob do to help Bill to stay at the table so that he would go through the practice? Read the social story again, use a strong reward, let Bill play with the Q-tip, or none of the above? Yes, the answer is B. It is highly possible that Bill needs a strong reward to be motivated to stay at the table for learning of this new skill to take place. It is also possible that Bill may not have learned to follow the instructions yet or cooperate with sitting, so a parent may need to rehearse that as well. When Marie was teaching her daughter Anne to tolerate the syringe for vaccinations, Marie would do this practice 2 times a day with 1 trial per practice and used Anne's favorite doll as a reward for Anne to work for. Marie noticed that Anne's response to the practices have been inconsistent. In some cases, she would whine and walk away. Marie is aware that Anne usually learns a new skill pretty fast, but it's taking too long to progress in this skill. What can Marie do to help Anne gain success consistently? Use a strong reward, increase frequency of practices in a day, increase number of trials per practice, or none of the above? The answer is A, B, and C. Practicing this skill 2 times a day with only 1 trial is not sufficient for any child to learn any new skill. Using a common favorite item as a reward for a new skill may also have lower motivation levels, saying that the child may be able to access this item at any other time during the day. Even if the skill is broken down to achievable steps, we still need to ensure the reinforcement and practices components of ADA are looked into as well.
Now it's your turn. Prepare all the materials for your child to practice getting ready for a swab test, as well as the materials for your child to practice getting ready for a vaccination, if that is relevant to you. Next, identify which skill your child will need to start with first and break it down and then start the practice. Always check to see that the skills are broken down. Strong reinforcement is used and lots of practice. A closing tip is to be prepared that you may actually need to hold your child firmly for both these procedures. Similar to very young children who may not have the skills or understanding for all these steps, doctors and nurses would advise us parents to hold on firmly to our children and distract them while the doctor is able to perform the necessary. So parents, just be prepared to do that. So that's it on our lesson on coping with the pandemic, preparing for swab tests and vaccinations. In our next lesson, we will look into social distancing. Stay tuned. And if you haven't already, do check out our free online resource platform, Autism at Home, which has all the corresponding articles and necessary downloadables for you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you soon.